I used to hate glow up content, glow up culture, anything that was glow up related until I realized that I actually went through a whole glow up myself. Here are 10 glow up habits that changed my life and is continuously changing my life. If you would have met me 5 years ago, you would not recognize who I am today. And I'm not just talking about how I look, but my confidence, my knowledge, my health, my habits, and my priorities have all upgraded. I almost didn't notice it at first until I went back to look at photos and I was like, wow, I remember those times of where I was at compared to where I'm at now. And it's such an inspiring change. So today I want to share with you guys the habits that made the biggest difference because none of them happened overnight. Oh my God, this is my favorite glow up habit. Start introducing yourself as the person that you're becoming. The real moment came when I started becoming a Pilates instructor and I realized that I'm really doing a whole career pivot. And from then, slowly over time, you just feel yourself improving. And I needed that for myself instead of holding myself in this position that I knew I had outgrown as a beauty creator. I knew that I had a purpose. I had a stronger purpose that I wanted to share with the world, and that was sharing wellness, sharing health, talking about mental health and your nervous system regulation. And the more that I became more in tune and more aligned with my purpose, the more I became more confident, the more I felt more connected to myself. I felt like I wanted to make an impact and change, but not only within myself because I saw what it did for me. I wanted to share that with other people, share with you guys. I shared it with my mom before she passed, and those are the things that I really feel like helped me get to this point in my life where I see life differently. I went to the Hamptons recently for a brand dinner with Beyond Yoga and with Kendra Scott, and it was my first time really stepping into a room and introducing myself as Simone, the Pilates studio owner, the creator, the wellness creator, and really just sharing where I am right now in my life and where I plan to go. And I was already saying that last year. I was already doing the thing last year. I was already doing my Pilates events and stuff, but really just owning who I am, owning who you are, owning what your purpose is and where you're going in this life is so important because it shows you that you don't have to worry about or focus on becoming her. You are already her. And once you understand that and believe that within yourself, you will see the changes. You will feel the changes. It'll radiate from your skin from the inside out. I started moving my body consistently. So as you guys know, I am a certified Pilates instructor, and I would say that journey started about 3-4 years ago. It was at that moment I started looking at movement a lot differently. Before I even got deeper into what Pilates was, I was doing a lot of strength training. I was doing a lot of HIIT workouts, a lot of cardio. It wasn't my preferred way to move my body, and so I wasn't able to be consistent with it for long periods of time. I did enjoy being able to say, okay, I'm working out, I'm doing my thing, I'm active, but I would notice that I would burn out a lot quicker. I was also very mean to myself, and I've talked about this on my stories a little bit. The reason why I used to hate the gym and strength training is because I could not get through my reps without speaking terribly to myself. I would say things to myself that I would not say ever to a friend. But for some reason, in order for me to get through that next rep or that next set, I was talking crazy to myself. That's why you shouldn't have done. I was abusive verbally to myself. It would get me through my set, but then I would be like, what the hell? Like, why am I talking to myself like that? However, I didn't realize it until I took my first 4 Pilates classes, and I realized the harder it got in class, the more I was coaching myself through it in the most respectful way. So instead of me saying all those mean things, it was kind of like, come on girl, you could do it. Just 3 more, just 2 more, breathe. And the more that I was doing that, it clicked. Why am I forcing myself to do that if it brings this side of me out when I could be doing a lower impact workout that causes me to be a lot nicer to myself until I learn how to tackle what's going on there? I started moving my body so much more consistently when I did Pilates. From there, it made me want to learn how to run. So I found what made me want to move. I was doing Pilates like 4 or 5 times, 6 times a week, okay? Sometimes twice a day. I enjoyed it that much. It made me curious about other forms of movement. So then came in the walking. I became obsessed in a healthy way with walking, counting my steps, using my Apple Watch and using wellness trackers. So like my Apple Watch, my Ultra Human Ring, and it kept me wanting to be active. Over time, I slowly saw like my inflammation going away. I felt like and I'm gonna be honest, my body's shaped out in a way that I had never really seen my body probably ever. So I'm not saying Pilates only did that. It was Pilates and a combination of things. Pilates, walking, and running. And then from there, it made me get interested in wanting to do strength training, right? So remember I said I hated it before? I had to go on that Pilates, walk, and running journey for me to then say, ooh, I want to build a little bit more muscle. Let me slowly get into strength training and do it at my pace. From there, not only did I look amazing, but I felt amazing. My confidence was up and I built so much strength. For the girls who do Pilates, God forbid we ever have to be sent to war, we are going to be the first ones that can run through that training. Energy that I exuded, my aura, it just gave off confidence. There was a glow there that everyone was able to see that I noticed came from me just making myself move a little bit more. I had to stop waiting to feel motivated. You are not going to be motivated every single day. This is something that I learned when I first became an entrepreneur. It's going to take dedication and consistency. That's what's going to keep you going and moving on and excelling in life. If you wait on motivation, you may be waiting forever because life happens. When life is happening, you still have to fulfill those promises that you made to yourself, or you're not going to get anything done. You're not going to feel that glow. You're not going to feel your best. It's actually going to be a domino effect because you're not keeping those promises to yourself. Even if it's a tiny promise, it's actually training your brain to further and further not trust anything else that you might want to do further on in life. So your goals, if you can't achieve them, it's probably because your body doesn't believe you. Your brain doesn't believe you. So when the days when you're not motivated, it's so important to lean on consistency and dedication. For example, journaling. When I first started getting really serious with journaling, my thing was, I'm gonna do it every single day. That didn't happen. However, consistency is still me journaling a couple of times a week. It's me keeping that promise to myself to say, hey, I'm not gonna journal every single day, but I might journal 3 times a week minimum. I think it's so important to journal because it's a way for your brain to flush out all the thoughts. A lot of times we just want to vent, and sometimes we don't want opinions back. Sometimes we don't want a response back. And I think it's so healthy to sit with your thoughts, sit with your anger, sit with your feelings, and you do that by journaling. That's why it's important. I realized that keeping promises to myself is what built confidence. If you say you're gonna go to the gym, go to the gym. If you say you're gonna eat healthier or choose healthier choices, choose healthier choices. If you say you want to look good every time you leave the house, or at least 80% of the time, do the work. Do it. Do the things that you know are gonna make you feel good and stick with it. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you are literally getting further and further away from being confident. That goes back to my other point that I had. I started speaking slower. Well, number one, I'm Jamaican and I'm from New York, so I speak very fast, as you just heard a second ago. Speaking slower when you are in public spaces, when you are trying to talk to people that you've never met before, or you're trying to level up in your career, made such a difference for me. When I'm going to conferences, when I am meeting other creators or at brand dinners, or meeting with brand reps at the dinners, it's so important to speak slow and enunciate. Really trying to get them to understand what you're saying. You only have but so much time, but you want to focus on building that relationship, and with that comes speaking slower. Slower actually shows that you have a little bit more confidence versus spitting out and blabbing a million words per minute. Something that I did do, because I used to also stutter, okay? It comes out. I'm so self-conscious of it, so never mention it. But I started watching a lot of videos on how to speak. I know it sounds crazy, but there is a way to speak that can slow you down from stuttering. And I know they said to open your mouth a little bit more and exaggerate things. Obviously not in person, but when you're talking, practice it as you're driving. And that's what I did. I wanted to better myself because I wanted to feel confident in spaces without worrying about a stutter happening. Okay, that was something that I had to take myself through, and I still do it while I'm driving because I still kind of stutter a little bit. But I am doing that to improve myself, and that's a glow up tip that has completely changed my life and is continuously changing my life. I started protecting my peace. That means having boundaries, reducing stress, learning to say no, and therapy. I don't play about my therapist. I am a bi-weekly girl. When life gets hard, I am then weekly. When life is great, I am once a month. I found my therapist from psychology.com today. I've been with her for a while. I specifically chose my therapist because she is of a Caribbean background and I'm Jamaican, and I didn't feel like having to explain the whole cultural differences and so forth. But for the last 5 years, I've had 2 therapists. I had a guy before, and I specifically sought him out because I was making choices that I wasn't happy with and I couldn't understand why 5 years ago. I've had this therapist now for 2 years and she has been amazing. He was great, but I kind of outgrew him. And I met this therapist 2 years ago and it has been the most life-changing experience ever. I have improved so much in life. If you have never gotten a therapist, this is your sign to get a therapist. It will change the way you think for the better. It will help you to understand the whys and the whats and the how you're doing what you're doing in life. You don't only have to have a therapist for negative reasons, it could also be for positive reasons. So when I didn't have anything negative going on in life, I would talk about my career and my dreams and my goals and how I want to achieve them and so forth. And it was so helpful in those moments. I think without having a therapist, I wouldn't even be able to make the changes that I needed to make in order to even experience what a glow up season could be. A lot of credit to therapy because it definitely does help. Having boundaries is so important. When I started setting boundaries in place, people didn't like me. They're not gonna like you. They're gonna think you're mean. They're gonna think you're a bitch. They're gonna think you think you're better than people or better than them. But without boundaries, you are literally disrespecting yourself. You have to put yourself first sometimes. And sometimes that just is what it is. I like to think of boundaries like this. Every time you say yes to something that drains you, you're saying no to something that grows you. Like, I read that somewhere before and it has completely stuck with me, but it's so true. Listen, the right people are not going to need you to abandon yourself in order to keep them comfortable. And no is a complete sentence. I had such a horrible habit of overextending myself, people pleasing to the fullest degree, specifically because I didn't want to hurt people's feelings. I didn't want to seem like the bad guy. And so I would say yes to a lot of things that I didn't want to do, not realizing that it was causing me stress and it was draining me. You need to normalize disappointing people who benefit from you not having any boundaries. Nowadays, before I even think about agreeing to something, I literally ask myself, do you want to do this? Like, I'm literally asking as a person is asking me, do I want to do something or X, Y, and Z? And then I go through my own little checklist. It's going to cause you to be tired. It's going to cause you to be happy tomorrow. I go through this whole checklist, and if I feel like it's going to take away from something that I need to do tomorrow or so forth, the answer is no. And I just keep it at that. But asking yourself that question before you fully commit will help you a lot in the long run. I started becoming so intentional about who I spend my time with, and this is a huge one. Whoever you spend time around the most is slightly who you're becoming. And sometimes if it's not good company, it's going to drain you. And the longer you stay around a person that drains you, the further you are getting away from yourself. And the more you're doing yourself a disservice, you're actually disrespecting yourself and putting yourself last. I would say my friend circle is so small, and it has gotten smaller as I've gotten older, and it's been on purpose. And I get a lot of jokes. People are like, you're so lonely. I'd rather be lonely than sit around people that do not make me feel like my best self while I'm with them and after I leave them. And so I am very cautious and very protective of my space. It is so important to me. I do not want to have to rebuild myself because of who I surrounded myself with when I knew for a fact they weren't people that I should have been around. Now, I'm not saying anybody was evil, but I feel like over the 5 years, I have filtered out people that I feel like have not had my best interest or did not help me grow in the way that I felt was meaningful and aligned with me. So I let them go. I don't know if you've ever seen people who have stayed in relationships for too long or friendships for too long or just stayed in a place for too long and you are watching the life get sucked out of them. But that too can happen to you. And so I think it's so detrimental for you to stay in spaces or stay around people longer than you need to, because it will show. The happiness and the smiles and the who you were will be slowly sucked from your body because God is telling you that you do not belong in this space anymore. And the more that you ignore it and go against his word, the more you're gonna live a very unfulfilled life. I invested in my personal growth. That's books, that's therapy, that's podcasts, that's courses. Listen, y'all make fun of courses, but courses, if you find the right person that has the right course and is not telling you bullshit, courses can actually help you out a ton. I had to stop comparing myself online. Online is ruining a lot of us. We go on there, we compare ourselves, and then we cannot get to the next step because we did not do it as good as her or as him or as them. And it's never gonna look this way and it's never gonna be this way and it cannot be this way. It's the phones. We need to get rid of the phone. We need to go back to flip phones. It's the phones messing us up. But I stopped comparing myself online, and one of the ways that I do that is by honestly just, obviously my job is social media, so I have to be on it a lot. I will give myself a time limit. If I am scrolling too much and time has passed, I have to check in with myself and ask myself, what is going on? What are you avoiding and how can we fix that? I check in because I notice it now. I'm so self-aware about it that I have to check in. When I check in, I'm able to kind of identify, and then I'll give myself a time limit. And I'm like, Simone, you got an hour. You give yourself an hour and then you're off of it. You're off of it because it's only making things worse. It's not making you feel better. You feel worse when you get off. One of the other things that I love to do when I'm comparing myself online is I make a list, things I love about myself, and I write it out. What are some attributes about myself that I like? Or what is the truth? What are facts? What are my skills? What am I good at? You have to remind yourself because a lot of the times we do forget. It's the people around us that remember, but we sometimes tend to forget. And I think just having a little list that you can come back and refer to is so beneficial. So, oh baby, I prioritized sleep. Sleep is where your body does overnight maintenance. If you guys know me, I do not play about magnesium. Magnesium and me, we go together. I am obsessed. If you travel with me, I will offer you some magnesium because it does so good on the body. It's great for your joints. It's great for recovery. It's great for sleep. It's great for being calm and relaxed. Sleep is so important. Without sleep, you cannot function. If you think you're functioning, you're gonna crash eventually, and it might be at the most inconvenient time. As we come to an end with this video, I want you to remember one thing. Glowing up does not happen in one day. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. That's why I gave you guys a 5-year timeline. There's never a finish line. You're consistently growing and constantly learning. I really feel like every glow up starts when your current self stops making decisions for your future self. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next glow up video. And I'm curious to know if you guys had any of your own glow up habits that you feel like really changed the way you see and view life. If so, comment it down below, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, my loves.